Tak payah dulu. Tak apa, nanti kita buatlah. Contohlah sekarang ni, abang akan present apa semua kan. Okay, abang bagi tahu. Okay, contoh ambil slide kau dulu. Slide kau yang mana? Arif slide 5 stakeholder impact. Okay. Dekat stakeholder impact tu, kau cuma baca je lah. First, Malaysia citizen are born the greatest burden. Okay. The country debate increase.
Screen ni tak nampak.
Tak nampak? Oh, sorry.
Tak nampak.
Aduh, kejap.
Tak nampak, bang.
Okay.
Oh.
Ini turun.
Bang.
Ya?
Oh, bang.
Ya.
Abang setiap satu slide ni kan. Abang beritahu. Okay, yang first tadi tu siapa cakap. Lepas tu second tu siapa cakap.
Ada.
Ada.
Abang akan panggil.
Ada.
Panggil nama.
Oh, abang akan panggil nama. Okay, cun.
Yang ini Arik, kau cuma cakap je ni lah. Thank you. Okay.
Saya-
First, I just to inform regarding about the stakeholder impact. Before that, first we must to know Malaysia citizen born about the greatest burden due to country debt and leading to reduced public service. Macam tu je kau explain. Kau baca sikit-sikit je.
Mas. Yang
Sebab
ni,
benda tu tak ada dalam...
yang ni ke saya kena tang tak ada kan? Selepas kan?
Oh dah? Inilah kau kena explain. Stakeholder impact.
Oh, yang ni.
Kau punya nama.
Saya
Slide 5.
tengok yang dekat abang hantar tu. Misuse of Public Funds.
Slide public fund. Kau ambil yang mana? Dia kan ada banyak kau punya. Satu.
Ya.
Stakeholder impact ada kan? Slide 5.
Okay.
Jangan bagi suspend tu.
Sorry, tak pasal.
Ni one time oi.
Sorry tu.
Tapi macam biasa kita akan buat. Sekiranya siapa start, diam sekejap. Dalam tak sampai seminit lah, dalam setengah jam. Dalam setengah jam dan 30 second. Lepas tu, start balik. Nanti Arif senang lah dia nak potong. Dia dah masuk dah?
Belum lah.
Rip, tolong Rip.
Dah. Geli tu dah. Ada.
Jalan ni. On. On tak on?
Hah?
On ke?
Apa dia?
Ni
Mana?
nak rekod dah.
Dah, ni abang dah tekan record dah. Tapi nanti
okay.
Arif potong je yang mana tak pakai
Tengah
lagi.
Oh. Tapi ni nak jalan tanpa Adam ke apa?
Tak, jalan dengan dia sekali lah. Sebab tu dia ambil slide 1 dengan slide 2 je. Slide 2 dengan slide 3. Lepas tu Adam boleh buat kerja dia balik lah.
Ataupun sini bang. Kita nak menjimatkan masa. Baik kita tinggalkan dia punya slide. Terus ke slide Fikri. So nanti dia masuk.
Dia masuk.
Masuk kan?
Hai Adam.
Alright.
Hai Adam.
Adam.
Hello
Hi.
Adam.
How are you doing, guys?
Hi. Hi Adam.
Good.
Can you hear me clearly?
Yeah, I can.
Okay.
Adam, before that, Adam, I just want to inform to you, if you start on the second or third slide, you just quiet for around 30 seconds, then you start back. Okay?
Okay. I will stay with you the whole time. That will be my turn. I the script, and then I will turn off my camera and mic. Okay?
Okay, no problem.
Okay, guys, let's go.
Okay. Saya start dulu lah. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim.
Adam smart lah.
Aku tak nampak benda ni je timbul kan. Okay. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim.
You are really smart.
Yalla guys, let's go. My phone's gonna turn off.
Okay. Assalamualaikum and good night to our lecturer and classmate. My name is Firdaus and I will be the MC for the today presentation. Our group will discuss the 1MDB scandal, analyze in its timeline and governance, and also the ethic failure in expose. Okay, this presentation is part of our course GLBO 06233 Business and Society course. Okay, now I would like to introduce my team. Adam Arif, Muhammad Fikri, Arif Hafizi, Dashini, and myself, Muhammad Firdaus. So let's do with the first slide. So Adam, I will hope you can read for the slide 2 and slide 3.
Thank you much for this kind introduction. I'm very happy to be here today, guys. Let me start by introducing the 1MDB scandal. Our objective is to analyze the 1MDB scandal, which involved $4.5 billion in embezzlement, and to discuss its impact on the governance, both local. To give a brief background, 1MDB is a government-backed wealth fund established to stimulate Malaysia's economic development. However, it became known worldwide as one of the largest financial scandals in history. This scandal not only damaged Malaysia's reputation, but also revealed serious issues in the governance and ethics, making it a key case study for our topic. Let's move to slide 3. In this slide, we will look at the timeline of the 1MDB scandal. The 1MDB was established in 2009 to promote Malaysia's economy. However, by 2015, investigations revealed widespread mismanagement and embezzlements. Two key figures involved in the scandal were Najib Razak, the former Prime Minister of Malaysia, and businessman named Johor Low. Both played significant roles in orchestrating mismanagement of funds and concealing for their actions. That's all for my section. I'll now hand it back to Firdaus. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you, Adam. Before that, I'm sorry, I just want to on my camera. Sorry. Okay, now we continue to our second man, Mr. Fikri. Can you describe for this issue, for the ethical issue?
All right, Mr. Firdaus, thank you. Hello, everyone. My name is Muhammad Fikri. Right now, I will discuss about the ethical issues. The 1MDB scandal brought several ethical issues to light, starting with the misuse of public funds. Billions of dollars meant to develop Malaysia's economy were instead misappropriated for personal gain. These funds were used to purchase luxury yachts, properties, artwork, and even finance Hollywood movies, such as The Wolf of Wall Street. A stark example is Johor Low's acquisition of a $250 million yacht, which became a symbol of access. Another major issue was the lack of transparency. Shell companies and falsified audits were used to disguise fraudulent transactions. For instance, audits from reputable firms were manipulated to hide the true financial state of 1MDB, undermining trust in corporate governance. Conflict of interest also played a significant role. Najib Razak, as both Prime Minister and Finance Minister, had unchecked authority over 1MDB, which he used to approve questionable financial transactions. This dual role blurred the lines between personal and public interest, leading to systematic abuse of power. Lastly, the scandal exposed global money laundering networks. Funds were funneled through international banks and offshore accounts, involving institutions like Goldman Sachs. For example, Goldman Sachs was fined $2.9 billion for its role in underwriting 1MDB bonds, some of which were used to facilitate the embezzlement. Thank you. Back to Mr. Firdaus.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Fikri. Okay, for the point of our study right now, we can see for the ethical point in here, we just conclude about the misissue public fund, lack of transparency, conflict of interest, and global money laundering. So the point is, this 4 point is very important for the ethical issue. Now we go to the next slide. So, Mr. Arif, are you ready? Mr.
Yes,
Arif,
I'm
yeah.
ready, Mr. Firdaus.
Okay, Mr. Arif, can you just explain to us regarding about the stakeholder impact?
All right.
Mr. Arif?
All right. All right. Do you hear me?
Yeah, you can.
Can you hear me?
Can.
All right. For slide number 5, stakeholder impact. All right. The 1MDB scandal had significant consequences for various stakeholders. First, Malaysian citizens bore the greatest burden. The country's debt increased, leading to reduced public services and economic hardship. And second, the government suffered reputational damage as trust in its institution diminished. And finally, global financial institutions like Goldman Sachs were implicated in the scandal for failing to prevent money laundering and unethical practices. This shows how corruption in one country can have global repercussions. I think that concludes this slide. Over to you, Mr. Fidaus.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Arif. In here, we can see for the stakeholder impact. The 3 key point in here we got. Okay, first, the Malaysia citizen, government agency, and global financial institution. For the Malaysia citizen, we already know how they have to see what make them to be the burden for the debt that our former prime minister have done, and for the government agency, how their reputation for that things. So in here, we go to the next slide. Next slide, I over to you, Miss Dashini. Miss Dashini, can you explain regarding about the corporate government failure?
Thank you, Mr. Firdaus. Um, the 1MDB scandal exposed major corporate governance failures. First, there was a lack of independent audit, which allowed corruption and mismanagement to continue unchecked. Second, political interference in discussion making further erodes trust and accountability within the organization. Lastly, there were conflicts of interest at the leadership level, particularly with Najib Razak's overlapping roles, which gave him significant control over 1MDB. This slide highlights the importance of strong governance structures to prevent such failures. I think that's all for this side. Thank you. Back to you, Mr. Firdaus.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Dashini. In here, we can see we got 3 points in here. Corporate government failure. First, we take the first point, lack of independent audits. And second, political interference. And third is the conflict. First, we can see lack of independent audit. In here, we already know for the 1MDB, got many case, and for the audit, why we don't take the audit in the inside that we call the best audit in here. For the political, we can see for the our political after 1MDB exposed, many our political team have take part for this issue. Then you can see for the how they try to expose for this case, and how they try to make this case not very strong. Okay, now we go to the next slide. Next slide regarding about the regulation and compliance. In here, we got two presenter. First, I will give to you Mr. Fikri. You will explain regarding about the Malaysia law and international gap.
All right, Mr. Firdaus, thank you. For this slide, I will discuss about relevant regulation and compliance. The scandal reveals significant regulatory weaknesses, both in Malaysia and internationally. Domestically, gaps in Malaysia's Anti-Money Laundering Act, which is AMLA, allowed funds to be misappropriated without adequate oversight. Regulatory bodies failed to flag suspicious transactions early on, enabling the embezzlement to continue for years. On the global front, the lack of enforcement in offshore financial centers enabled the movement of stolen funds. For instance, shell companies based in tax havens like the British Virgin Islands were used to conceal illicit transactions. International banks, including Standard Chartered and Deutsche Bank, also processed suspicious payments without sufficient due diligence. These regulatory gaps emphasize the urgent need for stronger anti-money laundering frameworks, stricter enforcement, and better international collaboration to combat financial crimes. Back to you, Mr. Arif, to continue the slide. Thank you.
Mr. Arif?
All right. Yes.
Okay. Can you
I
explain
will
regarding about
continue.
the what happened and what should happen?
All right. Thank you, Mr. Firdaus and Mama Fikri. All right, I will continue on this slide. What happened versus what should have happened. This slide compares what actually happened in the 1NDB scandal with what been done. Instead of proper governance, there was mismanagement and embezzlement. Independent audit and strong oversight could have prevented this from happening. This comparison highlights how ethical practices could have safeguarded public funds. That's all for this slide. Over to you, Mr. Firdaus.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Arif. In here, we got two presenter. First, we already explain our professor presenter explained about regarding about AMLA. AMLA is the famous. We can know AMLA also not using for the 1NDB. Also, we can see in Netflix right now they just open for the story regarding about the 1 cent. 1 cent also one of the part of the AMLA issue. Okay, then regarding about the what should happen and what just happened, for this thing, Mr. Arif already explained regarding about the auditor and proper governance, and also compare to how ethical practice should be safeguard politic fund. Okay, now we go to the next slide. Ms. Dashini, can you take over for this slide?
Yes, Mr. Firdaus, thank you. There is several steps were taken to address the 1MDB scandal. Number one, the key figures like Najib Razak were prosecuted. Number two, over $1 billion in stolen assets were recovered globally. Number three, reforms were introduced, such as strengthening the Malaysian Anti-Corruption Commission (MACC). These actions demonstrate efforts to restore trust and accountability. That's what we can conclude for this slide. Over to you, Mr. Firdaus.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Dashini. In here, we can see resolution for the scandal. We can see for the Najib Tun Razak and also the JLO, but JLO we know right now still not in Malaysia, but Najib Tun Razak have go to the court for this issue, but still right now the case still in progress, but we don't have the actual result whether he have to how many years. So because we got a new case regarding about addendum and everything. So we go to the next slide. Okay, next slide. I over to you, Mr. Fikri.
All right, Mr. Firdaus, thank you for this slide. I will discuss about the recommendation. We propose several recommendations to prevent future scandals like 1MDB. For number one is strengthen governance structures. Companies and governments should implement robust governance frameworks with clear accountability. Independent audits and oversight committees must be empowered to scrutinize financial activities. A good example is Singapore's Temasek Holdings, which maintains a rigorous governance framework to ensure transparency and accountability. So let's go to the second one is introduce whistleblower protection. Whistleblowers are essential in exposing misconduct. Organizations should establish secure channels and legal protections to encourage employees to report unethical practices without fear of retaliation. For instance, the Sarbanes-Oxley Act in the US has provisions to protect whistleblowers in corporate settings. The third one is foster ethical leadership and education. Education and training programs should focus on instilling ethical values in leaders. Companies like Unilever have prioritized ethical leadership by embedding sustainability and social responsibility into their corporate culture. The next one is use technology or leverage technology for transparency. Blockchain technology can ensure secure and transparent financial transactions. By recording transactions on a decentralized ledger, organization can minimize fraud risk. For instance, Walmart has used blockchain to enhance supply chain transparency, which can be adapted to financial system. The last one is promote global cooperation. Governments must collaborate to enforce anti-money laundering laws and close loopholes in offshore jurisdictions. The Financial Action Task Force is an example of an international body working to set standards for combating money laundering and terrorist financing. The 1MDB scandal serves as a stark reminder of the consequences of weak governance and unethical practices. By strengthening regulatory frameworks, fostering ethical leadership, and leveraging technology, we can create a more transparent and accountable financial system. That's all for this slide. Back to you, Mr. Firdaus. Thank
Okay,
you.
thank you, Mr. Fikri. In here, for the recommendation, we got 5 recommendation, like our finger, 5. If one is got problem, 4, but we still have 4, but it's not enough to make sure our money is safe and how to prevent the scandal. Like now, right now, we already talking about the 1MDB scandal. Okay, but this why for the recommendation we try to find a way, and we have 4 recommendation item that we present to you, madam. Okay, then we go to the next slide. Okay, next slide, we just go to the Mr. Arif. Mr. Arif, can you just explain regarding about this slide?
All right. Lesson learned. The moral of this issue. Wait. All right. Moral of this issue. The 1MDB scandal teach us 3 key lessons. Number 1 is transparency and accountability are crucial to prevent corruption. And number 2 is strong corporate governance is essential for ethical practices. And lastly is local corruption can have global consequences in an interconnect world. This lesson or this moral remind us of the importance of ethical governance. And that's from me. Back to you, Fidaus, Mr. Fidaus.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Arif. In here, we got 3 lessons how to prevent this issue, like YNDB issue, importance of transparency, and need for robust corporate and also government, global impact of local corruption. Okay, in here we also got one we call pronounce from our Martin Luther King Jr. The ultimate measure of the man is not where he stand in the moment of comfort and convenience, but where he stand at the time of challenge and controversy. In here we can see for the Najib Tun Razak, we have to see what challenge and controversy he suffer right now. And before that, before we go to the last slide, in here I just want to inform to you, madam, our team. First, me, Mr. Muhammad Fidaus, and second we have Adam Harif. Third, Mr. Fikri. Fourth, Miss Dashini, and five, Mr. Arif. And also we have a group photo for the Najib and also Jello in here. We just want to make sure the group, the photo just very strong for this issue. And last, for the conclusion. Okay, for the conclusion, I will take part for this issue. The conclusion, YNDB scandal serve as the right controversy tale of how corruption and mismanagement of the underestimate trust government and account stability. It emphasizes the need for the continued reform, ethical leadership, and global cooperation to prevent similar scandal. And in here we can see for the YNDB scandal, many for our money go to the outside, but we don't get any interest and any return back, and no refund, still not the complete refund we get back. And in here we hope this issue you can see back for this issue, madam, and thank you for your attention. I hope you okay for our presentation. Thank you, madam.
Thank you, madam.
Thank you, madam.
And
Thank you, madam.
before that, I hope, madam, you can clear for our part. And thank you for one more time for everything. Thank you, madam.
Thanks a lot, madam. Thank you.
Okay. Okay, dah habis. Semua dah selesai.
Bye.
Okay, lega. Arif, nanti abang bagi engkau. Kau settle semua.
Okay.
Thank you, Dashini. Sorry,
Boleh.
Dashini Selamat malam.
Okay, dari sini. Sorry lewat. Deal pukul 10.30, saya minta pukul 11.